Here we are again. Now, in mattertime 4, we are going to mention and talk about the foundation of consciousness, which is sort of the final link before we get into more technical details. Mattertime. Consciousness is really necessary, some common understanding of consciousness. So if you don't understand what I mean by consciousness, you don't understand mattertime. So that's why you need emotion, that's why you need choice, and consciousness really has three foundational attributes: social responsibility, individual freedom, and a very important understanding of the potential malevolence that we are all capable of. So the first real archetype of consciousness is social responsibility, and it ties in very closely with the emotions of compassion and of self-image. This diagram shows you kind of an outline of where social responsibility, what it depends on the bonding between people, as well as the conflicts, the bonding with compassion, conflicts with selfishness. As opposed to the more relational social responsibility, individual freedom has more of a Cartesian character, that is sort of an outside. It represents our ability to be apart from people and to exist as ourselves, independent of others. And so the diagram here shows two people coming from different directions and meeting. And so what does it really mean to differentiate between individual freedom and social responsibility? Well, what it takes is some understanding of how malevolent, how bad people can be. This is a list of sins that I've drawn up from the current thinking of what makes people bad. Different people have different lists, different things are prioritized differently. These are related to us through our stories, through media, through our movies, and of course through the religious literature like the Bible, the Quran. Persuasion, interestingly enough, is a key part of consciousness. We are persuaded at various stages in our life to adopt the different stages of consciousness at 2 years old. It's just an understanding that things don't disappear magically, reappear. Time and space, matter and action become concepts. And the child at 2 is very selfish. There isn't a lot of compassion for others. At 6, we gain our permanent memories, our long-term memories, and we gain a measure of compassion and socialization, so now we can start integrating. But it takes us until 18 or so to be fully persuaded by the values of society, by the stories and the potential malevolence that all people are capable of. Now, if you look deep in the brain, where the primitive brain resides, the conscious brain is sort of the wraparound outer part of the brain. Deep within the brain is the conscious brain, and that's where a lot of our primitive emotions and choice are made. The amygdala is an organ that is how we choose. And it's very significant that it's in our primitive mind. Correspondingly, the thalamus and other organs are associated with various emotions. In mattertime, the fundamental resonance of the neuron is the bineuron at 1.7 hertz the so-called delta mode. This fundamental resonance builds up all of the other excitation responses, sort of a pulse echo response in the brain, and represents the spectral pattern called the EEG, electroencephalogram. Here's a particular EEG spectrum that shows the delta mode along with the very common alpha mode. The alpha mode is very indicative of consciousness, of dreaming, and appears at about 11 hertz, and the beta mode is about twice the alpha mode, and then there's a bunch of other features as well. These spectra are yet another example, in this case, of sleeping, and something called the K complex, which shows up as a combination band between alpha and delta, and represents one of the key features of the sleeping mind. So, of course, a key feature of mattertime is the spectral representation of reality. And so instead of showing reality as things moving around in space and time, you can also represent reality as changes in the frequencies of resonances of matter, and those changes then represent spectral changes, and this diagram represents a sketch of the kind of spectral changes that reveal themselves in matter time.